Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the April 11th city, what? Oh. To our council meeting tonight. And we'll go ahead and start off, call this meeting to order and ask Captain Williams to lead us in the pledge.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, if you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Captain. All right, Jennifer, will you please call roll?
Councilmember Bogue?
Here.
Councilmember Duncan?
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe?
Here.
Councilmember Beaver, or Mayor Pro Tem Beaver?
Here.
Mayor Avila?
Here. Okay, Mr. Casey, do we have any changes in the agenda?
Staff has no changes to recommend this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, very good. All right, right now I do a special presentation. Announce a special presentation of the proclamation declaring the month of April DMV Donate Life Month. And come on up.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Avila and City Council members for inviting me back again this year. My name is Kat. I am the mother of three. My 11-year-old son, Christopher, was autistic. He was in the 6th grade. He loved trains and Batman. And unlike many autistic kids, Chris didn't shy away from affection. He was the first one to want to hug or to need to cuddle. And I really miss that, hugging my big little boy and hearing him tell me he loves me. Almost 4.5 years ago now, my son accidentally suffocated in his therapy swing. He was rushed to Kaiser. They immediately sent him to Loma Linda Children's Hospital. I don't know what we would have done without the care and the support of his healthcare team. Unfortunately, after exhaustive efforts, they were unable to save him. But because of their hard work and care, they were able to save 5 lives with his organ and tissue donations. His kidney and his pancreas saved 1 man. His liver saved another man. Both of his heart valves went to children under the age of 5. But Chris's other kidney went to this amazing little boy named Eddie. Eddie was born with dysplastic kidney disease. And at 3 months, he was put on a feeding tube. And at 10 months, he was put on dialysis. And by the time his family got a call that there was a kidney for him, he was on dialysis 10 hours a day. That was, like I said, a little over 4 years ago now. And today, Eddie is an energetic and active 8-year-old. He plays baseball and soccer and the violin, and he's in the 2nd grade. And although my son will never again play outside or go to school, I take comfort in knowing that this other child now can because of this amazing gift. As you can imagine, we never had a conversation with our 11-year-old boy about what he would want us to do if he were to suddenly pass. But I take comfort in knowing that this is the choice that he would have made. He used to tell us he was a cyborg made up of different parts and pieces. And whenever he was sick or injured, he would say he could just swap out his old parts for new ones. Well, his cyborg dreams are really a reality now. There are still 110,000 people on the waiting list waiting for that gift of life. Over 22,000 of them live here in Southern California. And anything that we can do to make people aware of this amazing gift, we should absolutely do and make happen. Chris is gone, but he lives on in others. And because of the gift of organ and tissue donation, he's not only remembered by his friends and family, but also by the friends and the families of the lives that he helped save. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone want to say anything?
Hey, that's a tough one. That's
It
It's
is.
an amazing story, though. I mean,
Thank you.
tragic but amazing. So if I say anything else, I'm gonna lose it. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, we can only, it's such a sad story,
It's actually a wonderful story.
but it does come out with a happy ending.
Absolutely.
Other lives are saved because of his donations. Right now, we're going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Beaver to read the proclamation, and then after the proclamation is read, it'd be our honor to meet with you at the front of the dais to have our picture
I
taken.
would love that, thank you.
Proclamation of the City of Yucaipa declaring the month of April DMV Donate Life Month. Whereas organ, eye, tissue, marrow, and blood donation are life-giving acts recognized worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need. And whereas more than 100,000 individuals nationwide and more than 20,000 in California are currently on the National Organ Transplant Waiting List, and on average 17 people die each day while waiting. And whereas the need for donated organs is especially urgent in Hispanic, Latino, and African American communities. And whereas a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestine can save up to 8 lives. And whereas donation of tissue can save and heal the lives of more than 75 others. And whereas organ donors saved more than 40,000 lives last year, the most ever. And whereas any person can register to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor regardless of age or medical conditions. And whereas being a registered donor does not impact the quality of life saving medical care a person receives in any emergency. And whereas California residents can sign up with the Donate Life California Donor Registry online, or for Spanish speakers as well online. Whereas California residents can sign up to be an organ, eye, tissue donor when applying for or renewing their driver's licenses or ID cards at the California Department of Motor Vehicles. And whereas California residents interested in saving a life through living kidney donation may visit livingdonationcalifornia.org. And now, therefore, be it resolved that in recognition of National Donate Life Month, the month of April 2022 is hereby proclaimed DMV Donate Life Month in the City of Yucaipa. And in doing so, we encourage all Californians to check yes online or when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID card at the DMV. Signed, Mayor Avila and City Council.
Thank you. At this time, I need to call for a motion to approve the presentation of the proclamation.
So move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, no further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations. Let us go down there and have our picture taken.
Thank you.
We do have one more. I think this is employee introduction.
Chief Malinowski. Yeah.
Mayor and Council, good evening. In light of this week also being a National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, 911 Dispatchers Week, I think it was appropriate we introduce Chloe Castillo. She's one of our communications operator or 911 dispatcher. So Chloe came to CAL FIRE in 2017 after graduating the Riverside County Sheriff's Department Academy, where she was a police officer standards training qualified in public safety dispatching, as well as a certified SWAT tactical dispatcher. Chloe is assigned to our San Bernardino CAL FIRE Emergency Command Center as the Yucaipa, she is the Yucaipa employee communications operator, or more commonly referred to as a dispatcher. The San Bernardino ECC, as we call it, is a command center, not a dispatch center. So unlike our other public safety answering points, our PSAPs in the county, they command and control from there. So there's a captain, there's a chief assigned there, not just dispatchers and supervisors. And the only reason I add this adds another layer of complexity for what Chloe does with dispatching aircraft, controlling statewide resources coming in, coming out, strike teams, when you're dealing with 10,000 employees statewide. Chloe brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to her position. She's trained and qualified to perform all police, fire, EMS, and aviation dispatching. On top of her dispatching capabilities, Chloe provides life-saving pre-arrival medical directions to our citizens daily on 911 call intake. She is certified as an emergency medical dispatcher and advanced emergency medical dispatcher. She's a crucial component to our public safety system and is the eyes and the ears for the field staff until we arrive. In 2021, Chloe performed intake or dispatch of over 3,200 911 calls. She resides in French Valley with her husband, George, who serves as a fire captain paramedic in Cal Fire Riverside Unit, and her son, Robert, and daughter, Layla. In her spare time, just kidding, she doesn't have spare time. She works for the fire department, so no. She does enjoy taking her kids to San Diego to see their extended family. With that, I'd like to introduce you to Chloe Castillo.
Hello. I just wanted to thank the citizens of Yucaipa for allowing me the opportunity to serve. It's been great, and I enjoy everything that I do for the city and for the state of California. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on in, we'll have our picture taken with you. Okay, this is the time for public comment. If there are any speakers, the city clerk, if you like to speak on any subject that's not on the agenda, we have cards or speaker slips at the table over here near the entrance. You can give them to Jennifer, and she'll call you in the order in which she receives them, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Jennifer, have we received any speaker comments, requests?
No, sir.
Okay. Hearing none, seeing none, we'll go to the consent calendar. Is there anything any of our council members would like to pull off the consent calendar?
I'll move approval for the consent calendar items 1 through 6.
I'll second.
All right, I have a first and a second. If no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to council and mayor and council member business reports. Anybody like to report anything? This would be a good time to talk about the city-county conference.
Mayor Avila, myself, and some city staff attended the San Bernardino County City-County Conference in Lake Arrowhead. Certainly a good collaborative effort of teamwork between the city of Yucaipa, the cities at large in the county and the county itself, to address all manner of issues that are facing our region. The presentations were informative. Certainly, I think my takeaway was that the county is working with the local municipalities to address all manner of things, from housing and the arena requirements, homelessness. you know, I find a way to circle back to this, but Sheriff Dykus was there as well, and his willingness with his staff to work with the cities and collaborate to overcome some of these obstacles was very impressive, and at least from my seat, very appreciated. We appreciate everything that our law enforcement does, and at the top, highest ranks of the Sheriff's Department, they're diving into all manner of things that are affecting our region, not just law and public safety. So I certainly appreciate that.
And I agree with that. It was very informative, and I cannot remember the economist's name. Ray, do you remember his name?
Chris Thornburg?
Chris?
Thornburg?
He gave an excellent presentation. He's a very, very positive person, has a very great attitude, and has showed some of the, he separated the propaganda from the realities regarding the economy in the United States, California, and the Inland Empire. And once again, the Inland Empire, while we're going through a slump right now, is not as bad as much of the state of California, and that we are coming back, but this is something that we just have to go through right now. And he left, at least I left feeling like there is still light and hope at the end of that tunnel. So overall, it's always been very, very informative. I am glad that Mayor Pro Tem Beaver was there to see and got to meet other elected officials and learn what they do and how they're dealing with the issues within their communities. All right. We'll move on to item number 7, the Service Walk nomination. Mr. Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I am so honored to be able to share this staff report with you this evening for someone that I spent many years working for in your seats, Mayor Dick Riddell. This is in response to a service walk policy that was approved by council back in June of 2021, studied in a study session, reviewed in a study session in May, and then finally approved in June of 2021. And it focuses on years of service and years of exemplary service, either as a council member, planning commission member, city commission member, or some combination thereof. And the first nominee is Mayor Dick Riddell, and just a little bit about his years of service. 25 years and 7 months as a city council member, 4 months as a planning commissioner, economic development advisory committee, many of those years as when he was a city council member or mayor. And again, staff had the honor of working with Mayor Dick Riddell for a number of years. The other recommendation for this evening is what is on the plaque itself. Staff's recommendation is that a plaque be placed on the boulder on the service walk just in front of City Hall, and that the plaque say City of Yucaipa Service Walk. This plaque is dedicated by the City of Yucaipa in honor of Dick Riddell for his 25 years of dedication and service to the community. Again, it's consistent with the policy that was approved back in June of 21, and staff is very pleased to be able to recommend this evening pursuant to a nominee made by a sitting council member, in this case, Mayor David Avila, and others, of course. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Do I hear a nomination?
I think maybe that should come from the mayor.
Okay, it'd be my honor to nominate Dick Riddell to be the first in the service walk. Well-deserved, probably owe him a way more than that, but this is just a start, and I hope he accepts this.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, this is an honor. If you don't mind, Mr. Riddell, we'd love to have your picture taken with us in front of the dais.
Maybe we can go up there, David. No.
Would you like to say a few words first? Pardon me? Would you like to say a few words?
No, I'm just be honored being considered for any kind of recognition.
Perfect.
Thank you. Without this, I wouldn't be erect very long.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, there are a number of folks that express an interest in learning of the actual ceremony date, and once the plaque comes in, we will certainly work towards scheduling the ceremony and letting folks know.
Okay, including the news mayor who can put it out on the website and the paper too.
Absolutely.
Did you hear that? All righty, we also have a report about the Sandals Church. Who will be giving that report?
Very briefly, we had an event this weekend held at 13th Street Sports Complex. We had something like 20 volunteers show up from the Sandals Church, East Valley. They planted some 15 trees and placed some 20 yards of material, mulch material. And they were able to work, volunteer in between events at the 13th Street Sports Complex. So I was told it went off very smoothly. Shane Massoud was there from staff. And apparently everybody got along well in that effort. So we were excited about it.
Very good. Thank you so much for that report. All right, moving on to possible action on pending legislation. Do we have anything to report?
Mr. Mayor, there is a new bill, AB 2223, that I learned of this weekend. It has to do with the abortion criteria, if you will, and protections for liability associated with that. I'm being told that there are changes being made to the language already. It is something that has passed out of committee on partisan vote and moved on to a health-related committee, but that there is ongoing discussion about changing some of the language in the bill to make it a little more clear. With staff's, with the council direction, I would bring this back next meeting with more information for action by city council if you so choose.
Gentlemen? Yes?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Please do.
Ray, there's, may I?
Yes.
There was a bill that, there's someone in here who could speak in more depth than I can, but it was a bill that was a Senate bill that was going through committee, and it was regard to human trafficking. And I don't know if you know this, but human trafficking in California is not considered a violent offense. It's actually not even considered a strike. So if you have 2 strikes, it's not even considered a strike at this point. So there was a bill that was going through the state legislature, and it was killed. It was, they shot it down on a 2-to-1 vote in the public safety, saying that we do not need to make human trafficking a violent offense. And considering that we are on the 10 freeway, and I think that's one of the main corridors and one of the biggest problems with human trafficking, I think maybe that's something we ought to look into. It's incredible that they shot it down in the very first committee, but hopefully it comes back. It's a terrible. So we're talking about the issue with whatever it is, 2223.
Right.
And then on the other hand, we're shooting down bills to protect 12 and 13-year-old girls from human trafficking, and we don't think that's a violent offense. It's incredible.
It is.
If I'm not mistaken, and maybe the law enforcement guys can help me out with this, but I think San Bernardino County is has the highest or the worst of the human trafficking in the Inland Empire, if not California itself.
Certainly a very strong human trafficking task force exists in the county that I'm aware of that works with surrounding counties, certainly the counties that you get down to Riverside and Imperial County near the border. Certainly it's, I was unaware that I thought that bill was still moving forward, so I'm.
Well, the one legislator that I know very well happens to be here. She was our one yes vote, just so you know.
So we'll bring information on that back as well, even though it's, what the current status is, we'll bring it back as well with more information.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 8, Youth and Advisory Committee Drive-In Movie. Megan Wolf. Let's hear something nice and
You know,
positive.
let's do that. Let's turn the page there. And this, good evening, Mayor and City Council. This evening, I have with me 2 amazing members of the 13-member Youth Advisory Committee, Brenna and Madison. The Youth Advisory Committee proposes to host an event each year, and this year they would like to host a drive-in movie featuring Back to the Future at Yucaipa High School on Saturday, June 4th. And this event will cost $15 per vehicle, and their goal is to provide a family-friendly event for the community. There is adequate funding in the Youth Advisory Committee expense budget, and the event is estimated to be $1,900, and revenues are expected to be $1,125 for a net expense of $775. I would now like to pass the microphone to Brenna and Madison.
Hi, my name is Brenna Lane. I'm the chairperson of the Youth Advisory Committee.
My name is Madison Welzel. I'm currently our vice chairperson of the Yucaipa Youth Advisory Committee.
So we would like to host a drive-in movie featuring the movie Back to the Future on June 4th. We would love to provide a summer kickoff event and provide a family-friendly activity for the community. All YAC members are eager to volunteer to provide this fun and safe event. This event is intended for all age groups and something that everyone can be excited for. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of our presenters?
How'd you come up with Back to the Future?
We went through a few movies, but we wanted to do something PG so that it's like great for kids and pretty much anyone can come, so we decided on that one.
It's one of my favorite movies. Just
Me
so you know.
too.
Very nice. Good presentation, ladies. All right, this is a motion to approve the event. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a first and a second. All righty, if no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, ladies, you have your movie.
Thank you.
I just love that. Okay, item number 9, Parks and Recreation again, track and field meet. Once again, Megan Wolf.
We've got to bring more fun to this community. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here on behalf of the Parks and Rec Commission, which is comprised of 5 members of the community, and they meet on a monthly basis. This year, the Parks and Rec Commission had an idea to host a track meet at Yucaipa High School. The meet would be open to all 3rd through 5th graders in hopes that Yucaipa Calamasa Joint Unified School District students would get involved. The event would include a 50-meter dash, 100-meter dash, 200-meter dash, 400-meter dash, long jump, and a softball throw. If approved, the Parks and Rec Commission and staff will work with the school district to secure the details of the event, and marketing will be dispersed immediately. The objective of the event is to provide a competitive athletic activity for 3rd through 5th graders in the community. The committee is still working out the dates dependent upon the availability of the track and field at Yucaipa High School. The 21-22 adopted budget does not include expenses for this event. However, there is adequate funding in the Sports Division Community Services budget to account for the costs that are estimated to be $1,000. In addition, there is revenue that's estimated to be $500 for a net expense of $500. This concludes my report, and I can answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of staff? My question is, will the school district also participate in running the organization? It doesn't say here in the discussion.
I'm so glad that you asked that question. So staff and the Parks and Rec Commission have spoke with the Yucaipa High School track and field coach, who also runs their timing system, and he will be involved in the event depending upon, again, the date that we secure, and he'll run the timing system. And then we also will work with the track and field team so that they volunteer at the event and hopefully provide a little bit of provide a little bit of inspiration for those 3rd through 5th graders.
And will awards be given out?
Yes, awards will be given out for 1st through 3rd place.
Oh, very nice. Okay. So, do we have a motion to approve or further discussion?
I'd like to move the item. My motion to approve.
second.
We have a first and a second. If no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Very good. Item number 10, award of contract 2021-2022 street striping program, project number 11157. I believe Fermin will be handling that.
Yes, thank you, and good evening, Mayor and council members. In April of 2021, the City Council approved the fiscal year 21-22 Pavement Management Program, or the PMP. And as you know, the PMP includes many sub-programs that are intended to help maintain city streets. One of those programs is the street striping program. This program, it revitalizes striping and pavement markings throughout the city on city streets, and it also installs new striping where needed. Over the years, this program has also been used to install new bike lanes throughout the city, and many miles of bike lanes have been added throughout the city over the last 10, 11 years through this program. This year's striping program includes the restriping of double yellow lines, white edge lines, pavement legends, the stop bars, the stop legends, and also other pavement markings throughout the city that help assist traffic and improve safety. The program also includes the restriping of Oakland Road along the frontage of the Five Winds Ranch Eldorado facility, and that restriping includes the addition of a continuous center left turn lane along that frontage, which will improve access to not just the facility, but also the properties across the street from the facility through within this segment. The program also proposes to add red, white, and blue edge line striping along Yucaipa Boulevard. Up on the screen is a street view photo of a segment of Yucaipa Boulevard, and you can see the white edge line on both sides of the street between the travel way and the street parking. What's being proposed is on this next screen, again, the red, white, and blue striping along the edge. And the segments of this striping include the 4 segments between Bryant and 2nd Street. The overall program was advertised for bids. 3 bids were received. Superior Pavement Markings was the lowest responsible bidder with a bid of $61,740. The total proposed program cost is in the amount of $73,240, and that includes the proposed contract, a $6,500 contract contingency amount, and $5,000 for administration of the contract and also the inspection. The current budget for the program in this year's PMP is $60,000. So staff is recommending that City Council authorize the use of an additional $13,240 in funding from the unallocated PMP funds for this program. The current balance in the unallocated PMP funds is approximately $181,000, so there's sufficient funding available for to support staff's recommendation. That concludes my report, and staff recommends that council approve the recommendations as listed in the agenda report for this item.
All right, thank you. Any questions of staff? Yes, sir.
What is the purpose of changing it to red, white, and blue?
There's an existing white edge line. The purpose is for, I guess I would characterize it as for a patriotic symbol.
And is it within guidelines? I would assume so, but within guidelines that we're allowed to do with traffic control and striping and traffic management? The reason I ask that question is because typically people are used to a white line on the edge of the street. You start adding other colors, they may get confused.
We did look into that. The white edge line is typically used to delineate the edge of pavement. Here, the white edge line was used to delineate the travel way from the parking spaces. It's not required, but it was added 12 years ago with the construction of the Uptown. So it would qualify, it is eligible to answer your question.
Any other questions?
Are we going to be using that new improved substance that we started out with in the Uptown when we did the Uptown improvements?
The thermoplastic material?
Yeah, I'm not
Yes.
sure what it's called, but has that worked out better than the regular stuff?
It has, especially when you prepare the concrete surface first.
And do they make that in red, white, and blue, or the red and blue?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Was this something that came from the Uptown Association? Was this a recommendation of Uptown Association?
No, this actually came from staff based on some input from a number of council members along the way. The cost was a little more than we thought, quite frankly. And so it's possible to reduce the length if council so chooses, but it was thought to be not a very costly alternative to the normal white striping based on input.
How much would it cost without the red and blue striping?
The red and blue striping adds an additional almost $20,000.
Okay, my thought is that there's 2 things. One is I just kind of have an issue with the expense that's not necessary. I appreciate the sentiment, but I also have this thought that the red, white, and blue is a symbol of our nation. And at one time in my life, it was considered to be disrespectful, almost sacrilegious, to step on anything that we would associate as patriotic. And I think driving on our nation's colors falls into that category. And it's not particularly necessary other than to show some patriotism, but we can do that with increasing the number of flags. As some of you might know, I'm a member of the Rotary Club, and we set out flags every federal holiday. And we can increase the number of flags on those days, or maybe even maintain a number of them throughout the year. The red, white, and blue striping, I think, is a little excessive. Even though it's only $20,000 difference, it's still $20,000. And if we were flush with cash, that might be one thing, but, you know, we still have public safety items that we have to deal with. We don't have the, you know, $30 million budget. That's nothing compared to my fellow colleagues in the other cities. And so we have more of an austere fiscal intake. So my opinion is that we could better serve by either adding flags or doing something else, as maybe putting red, white, and blue striping in our Heroes Walk, or in the Flag Hill Park. I think that would be more symbolic and more patriotic in theme, as opposed to just having it on a public way. And again, we're driving over it, and I find that not offensive, but, you know, maybe not in the best taste. That's my intake.
There are other cities that have red, white, and blue striping on the roadways?
Yes, there are other cities here in the state of California that have that.
I know of a few as well. The 4 segments that are presented on the screen from Second to Bryant, what kind of cost difference would it be if it was from First to Adams, so as to encapsulate the majority of our festival roadways for Autumn Fest, Music and Arts Fest, etc.?
The 4 segments are about the same length, so it would be about $5,000 each.
So theoretically, we take off the furthest east segment, take off the furthest west segment, we're looking at a $10,000 expense.
That's correct.
Okay. I spoke to a woman who saw this agenda item on the agenda. She moved here from San Francisco about 2 years ago. She commented specifically on the patriotism of Yucaipa and the amount of American flags she sees when a time when patriotism is seen throughout our society as uncool or nationalists. For goodness sake, the Liberty Lap started in Yucaipa to display Old Glory. We do a good job with that. The picture that was on the last slide showing the roadway, yeah, that pops. I see that. I do see the Rotary's efforts every year during federal holidays when the flags line our uptown. The flags come down at nighttime, and this will be there for our festivals. This will be a small token of our patriotism in this town and our commitment to that. Those are our nation's colors, and the mayor is absolutely correct. If this was a new notion that we're spearheading altogether, I would maybe tread cautiously as to whether or not this would be offensive, but this is not this is not new. This is happening in other cities around in the region. I think that right there, between Adams and First Street, where primarily we set up our shops for all of our festivals, is going to set us apart. It's going to be a noteworthy item for people to discuss while they're here. I think it's great. I will say that I think the mayor is absolutely correct. We need to be fiscally responsible while making sure that we are doing what needs to be done to highlight Yucaipa. We have given almost $500,000 to different associations that in the community that are off in the parks, and I think that's great. This is a pretty modest expense, and I think we'll have some pretty large return on investment when we see people discussing this on all over social media during our festivals, and I think it will attract more of a crowd for our YPAC and the marketing efforts done by our city staff. I will suggest that we maybe shorten it from Adams to First if we're going to move forward, so as to be just focusing on the areas that we set up shop for our festivals.
I don't think we should shorten it at all.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You want to do just one section then?
So from Adams
Adams?
to First Street, which I think if Megan, maybe you can, that's generally where we're primarily. I know in the past when it's a very busy festival, we are from Second, probably all the way up almost to Bryant, but primarily the main focus of our music and arts festivals right around that California Street roundabout, one block in each direction, and then obviously north and south as well on California. But I think that main drag of our uptown, when this council and the councils of past have done so much to revitalize and bring attention to our uptown, this is a $10,000 expense we're talking about that I think will have a lasting impression on visitors. They're gonna tell their friends about it. The patriots in the region are gonna talk about it, and they're gonna come to our festivals. They're gonna see it. And $10,000 marketing effort with minimal upkeep and I don't think it's gonna take very long to put them down. I think that's a solid investment that we'll see a return on.
You want to go?
Go ahead.
I don't think we should shorten it at all. And so if we think back, when Black Lives Matter tried to come to Yucaipa and everybody showed up, there's a lot of good American patriots living in this town. And this concept would boost morale. I know Norco has this. And I made the comment back in 2019 that Yucaipa was the reddest city in the state of California. And I got a call the next day from Temecula, and a gentleman there took issue with that. And he said that Temecula was pretty red as well. But this is a red city. There's 85% of the people that live here are good, patriotic, Constitution-loving Americans. This is going to be such a big deal for them, for the Liberty Lap or for whatever. There's a lot of people that hang out in the uptown that believe in the Constitution, even though the country doesn't seem to anymore, believe in the ways that we used to be years ago. I don't think we should worry about a $20,000 expense because we spend a lot of money here for a lot of different things, and we lose money on some of our events, but this is going to be a morale booster, I think, for the citizens that live here, and I absolutely don't want to shorten it, and I want to go ahead and spend the money.
I don't believe that red, white, and blue stripes on the city streets enhances the patriotism of the citizens of Yucaipa. Either you're a patriot, either you're an American, or you're not an American. I don't think putting paint down in the streets is going to make a difference. I humbly and respectfully disagree with both of you guys' comments on that. But since we do seem to have a division, what I'd like to do is maybe break out the two things. One is that we just have I guess there's two parts to this, regular street striping, and then we have the one that concentrates the red, white, and blue in the uptown. Is that correct? Or is this the one project? Go ahead.
It's one proposed contract that includes various different bid items, and two of those bid items are for the two different colors. One's for red, one's for blue.
Okay, so if we have someone such as I who's going to vote against the red, white, and blue, is it possible for us to pull that out so at least my voice gets heard and not say no to the whole project? Because I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so the contractor from Mean and Landon spoke with the contractor on Friday. They're willing to replace the blue and red, all or part of the blue and red striping with equivalent based on the unit prices. So equivalent replacement of regular striping, whether it's skip striping, yellow, or edge striping. Of course, that would be more quantity to exchange for the blue and red unless it was thermoplastic edge striping. So the answer to the question is, I think you could, as a council, vote on the overall contract and have a separate vote that decides whether you want to do the blue and red striping or replace it with equivalent value of other white and yellow striping, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense, everybody? Okay, so let's go ahead with the overall approval first, if we can. The motion is to award the contract for the striping program, and we'll call out the red, white, and blue striping section. All right?
Separately, correct?
Say that
That'll be
again.
separately.
Say that again.
We're going to do the overall painting contract approval to award the contract to, to whomever it is overall, and then we'll call out specifically the red, white, and blue striping.
Is that your motion?
I guess that'll be my motion.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so this is just for the overall project in general. All right, so if there's no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the contract has been awarded, and we approve that. Now, with respect to the red, white, and blue striping, do we have a motion to approve all or a portion of the affected area?
Can I make a quick comment before we do that? I haven't related.
Yes.
This is more informational. You know, my biggest concern, I respect all your guys' comments. I think you guys have valid comments. My concern when I saw that was, it's like that on everything that we do. I always think about what it's gonna look like in 10 years. And I'm not sure what that's gonna look like in 10 years. I don't want it to look, you know, that striping gets chipped and it starts looking tattered, and I'd hate to see that red, white, and blue look tattered and terrible over.
And that's
That's what I'm concerned of. So my proposal would be leaning more towards Mayor Pro Tem Beavers, that maybe we just pick a little section, we try it out for a little while, see what it looks like, and then we can proceed to do the rest.
And once that striping's down, then it's that way forever.
Well, they can chip it off, but it doesn't look.
Okay, so what is your proposal?
Well, I definitely don't want to do the whole thing, but maybe just pick a segment. I was thinking of one section, but I know Justin was looking at, Mayor Pro Tem Beaver. Sorry.
So I think I understand the concern, and I think I've seen it work in other cities. It certainly is maintainable. We will see if it's an undertaking maybe the city is willing to take on when we see exactly what the wear and tear is. Should we venture away from the entire thing and go towards a segment? I'm not unreasonable, and I'm willing to move in that direction. As it relates to what segment, I think I would defer to city staff's expertise as to the most used area of roadway that we use for our festivals.
I think first to California is probably the most used for festivals and that sort of thing. If you're looking at one block, one segment.
Yeah, are you opposed to, I mean, I want to see what it looks like over, it's hard to judge.
Yeah.
And I just think about the tire marks and everything, and I just think it's not gonna look bright like that, it's gonna look dingy, so what's it gonna look like in 2 or 3 years? I don't know.
Yeah, I think paint on a roadway is not certainly set in stone. It can be amended should we find that it doesn't work and it looks wrong. But I think shooting it down because of some lines on a projector screen isn't right as well. I think giving a chance to see what the reaction is. We have some festivals coming up, and we will get some firsthand reactions.
Yes.
Do you want to do the 2 blocks, or do you want to do one?
What's the age of that center line?
The center line was first installed in 2009, 2010, and I believe we restriped in 2016, 17.
That's 5 years old.
I don't have any problem. I don't have any problem with doing one section just to see it. I just don't know, should we do 1 or 2?
So the Music and Arts Festival, I think, is the next one we have coming up, right? And that area that we would use is from primarily, or at least the last year, it was Adams is where it cut off to the east and First to the west. So if we're going to deploy a sample based on the city staff's 4 segment recommendation, and we were only to sample a segment of it to see how it works with our festivals, then it would be the 2 from Adams to First.
Before we go any further, I've got 2 more questions. One, Mr. Snow, have you looked at this? Is there any legal reason why we should be cautious about proceeding with this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I've not done any independent research regarding this. However, Mr. Preciado says that he has checked the standards and it's in keeping with the standards with respect to traffic control.
Okay, and then second, and I hate to do this to the sheriff's staff, but is there any concern traffic-wise with it being painted that way? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Normally I would give you heads up, but I'm brainstorming here.
No, we would not have a problem with it.
Thank you.
In taking into consideration the sentiments shared by some of the council, I will make a motion that we move forward with this striping of red, white, and blue between the streets of Adams and First Streets for 2 segment blocks, cutting out the $10,000 expenditures, 5 on each side, from Second to First and Adams to Bryant, and do a sample segment there in the center 2 blocks in preparation for some of our festivals coming up to see how this works, see if this fits our city. That would be my motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All righty. If no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
If I may, just to
Yes.
make sure staff's 100% clear. Number one, it's going to be a little bit tight for us to get the striping done before a music and art festival. I don't want to leave you and the public with the assumption that that will be completed. It takes getting the contracts in and completed with our insurance requirements and all of that. So I'm not 100% sure that it can be accomplished before the Music and Art Festival, but we'll strive to do that. Number two, I just want to make sure that that a part of the motion is the associated change order to change out the red, white, and blue for equivalent value of white and yellow striping. And if council is supportive of that, then we're comfortable with the action.
Would you want me to amend my motion, or can we,
Just make, if that's part of, if that's deemed to be part of your motion, we're fine.
It was.
Okay. So do we need to do that all over again?
No,
Okay.
I think as long as the maker of the motion and the person that made the second had that same assumption, I think we're good.
Okay, because if everyone understands that, we don't need to ask for another aye vote. Or should we just go ahead and do that again anyway? Well, let's go ahead and one more time. Based on all the information we have now, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Thank you.
So it's 4-1. Good job. All right. Moving on to item number 11, award of contract, Five Winds Ranch Amphitheater Project number 11171. And Fermin will start off.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This project is award of contract for the continued development of the Five Winds Ranch El Dorado project. And similar, one item that was included in the previous item was a restriping of Oakland Road. And with this next contract is the next phase of the development, which is the work around the amphitheater. And Landon Kern will present this item.
Thank you, Fermin, for that introduction, and good evening, Mayor and members of council. As Fermin introduced here, this report is for the proposed construction of site improvements at the Five Winds Ranch Park. Over the last couple years, staff has been coordinating the completion of various site improvements at the Five Winds Ranch Park, consistent with the approved conceptual plan. This first slide here before you is an aerial photograph from mid-January of this year, showing some of the recent activity that's taken place at the park site here for the overall project. Some of this work that you see underway here includes the site preparation for the last 2 years of the Make a Difference Day events that we've hosted there, with the tree planting, including landscaping and the irrigation to support that. Site grading for the various park areas, including the main amphitheater area, which is to the north and west of the existing structure here on the westerly side of the park, as well as the overall grading for the roadways for the access throughout the site to the east and west, and the parking areas, and finally the application of recycled asphalt base material along those roadway sections to support the ultimate roadway improvements. And all these phases have been completed in an effort to prepare for the reopening of El Dorado Ranch Park, which will be celebrated by the 2-day festival coming up here at the end of June, in the last weekend of June. Staff has identified several remaining site improvements in the westerly portion of the park required to accommodate this upcoming event and the reopening of El Dorado Ranch Park, which also supports the overall development of the park consistent with that conceptual plan that's been envisioned for many years now. Here before you on the screen is a slide of the overall westerly portion of the site Those areas shaded in pink there highlight the areas that this proposed scope of work include, which incorporates grading for some of the remaining access roads to provide that connectivity along the westerly portion of the site, the multi-use trails that are incorporated into those roadway sections, an ADA pathway along here that will be proposed a DG path to incorporate that ADA access from these parking areas, as well as the ultimate improvements here at the main event center structure. The main amphitheater area, there is some concrete proposed with this scope of work, including the stairs. There's 2 sets of stairs entering into this amphitheater, as well as the concrete pad to support the event tent for future events, as well as some concrete work up along the perimeter of the top of that slope section there. I'll talk about more in a moment, with some railing, safety railing that incorporates that concrete into that slope as kind of a viewing area up top and ties into those concrete stairways going down into the amphitheater. And ultimately, the project also proposes to include a natural rock wall that would be installed along these interior slopes of the amphitheater here. You can see it a little bit more on this slide here, zoomed in. This rock wall is proposed along the majority portion of the perimeter of the amphitheater here, along the southwestern, southern, and the eastern sides of the amphitheater for the anticipated uses, which we expect to have live or amplified music. And the design of this wall was based on input gained from several meetings that we had with stakeholders, community members, neighbors, and then ultimately some input from some audio professionals with experience in music production and sound attenuation, in an effort to design this amphitheater to maximize that mitigation for sound leaving the site, specifically between here and Oakland Road. And with the recent construction of the nearby emergency debris basin, with that NRCS grant funding that we obtained, we were able to discover, excavate, and stockpile some rock material that's suitable for this proposed rock wall. So recognizing some cost savings there with that other project that happens to be just very close nearby. Again, shown here on this slide a little bit better, shows the access into the amphitheater on the easterly side here for the stairway coming up from the top, dropping down into that lower amphitheater area where that proposed concrete pad is shown. And then another stairway section here entering from the south part of the site going into that amphitheater area. The project was advertised for construction bids last month, and 3 sealed bids were received on April 5th. The lowest responsive bidder being Urban Habitat of La Quinta, California, in the amount of $318,923.65. The proposed construction budget for this contract includes an amount of $25,000 for contract contingency, $14,000 for contract administration and inspection costs, for a total proposed construction budget in the amount of $357,923.65. Urban Habitat has performed similar projects for other public agencies, and their work has been deemed satisfactory. As shown in the fiscal section of this report, sufficient funding is available to accommodate staff's recommendations, and therefore staff is recommending that council approve items 1 through 3 as listed in the report. And unless there's anything further to add, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Landon. Any questions of staff?
Not relative to this project, but not exactly. Any word on how those, I know we did a lot of trees last year. They're still thriving up there in preparation for this festival we got coming up?
So far, so good. We've lost a few along the way, and we'll have to replace a few, but with respect to the project itself, I think it's missed almost all of the trees. We've had a few that we had to deal with the amphitheater area and the parking for that. One of the field changes, if you will, that came out of this review process was some ADA parking closer to that amphitheater, and that, I think, impacted a few trees. But for the most part, I think they're doing okay.
No, no further questions. Good presentation. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, do I hear a motion?
I'll move approval.
I have a motion to approve. I hear a second.
I'll second.
All righty, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Good job. Moving on to item number 12. Once again, Megan Wolf will be talking about the amendment to Yucaipa Municipal Code, Section 12.04.040, hours of operation.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. The Community Services Department is responsible for the permitting of park usage as well as the administration and approval of special events that are held within city parks. And the Public Works Department is responsible for the maintenance and the enforcement of park guidelines and standards pursuant to the Yucaipa Municipal Code. Both departments are recommending a change in park hours due to the increase in public nuisance and vandalism that has taken place over this past year. The current hours of operation are from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. No persons shall enter the park. And the recommended change would read, no persons shall be in a city park facility except between sunrise and sunset each day, other than for lighted tennis or basketball court play, unless a facility use permit or special event permit is obtained. The goal of this proposal is to provide park rangers and the Sheriff's Department the tool necessary to enforce rules at city parks. The amendment also maintains access to organized sports organizations and continues to allow sports organizations to use the fields. This evening, staff is recommending that the City Council approve by first reading by title only, as read by staff, of Ordinance Number 406, amending Section 12.4040 of Chapter 1204 of Title 12 of the Yucaipa Municipal Code regarding the hours of operation, and find Ordinance Number 406 exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15378 and Section 15061B3. This concludes my report, and I can answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
Respect to lighting, with the exception of the Bryant Glen fields that I believe are activated by the users, is there any basketball courts or park facilities that have automatic timer lighting that are on from sunset till a designated time?
Great question. So the Yucaipa Community Park has tennis courts that are lit by, person has to go in and light it, but they can do that at any time. They also have trail lighting that is on a timer system. 7th Street Park has a lit basketball/pickleball court area that's under the shade structure. The Yucaipa Equestrian Arena has lighting that's also managed by a software system, lighting system called Musco, and can be used by city staff.
The reason I ask is I'm concerned, especially my specific thought was the tennis courts, but the basketball courts at 7th Street I think might be another one. If there's somebody who can try to manipulate this section to work in their advantage by simply turning the lights on and, oh no, we're here for lighted activities when in fact they're not. I'm wondering if there should be added language to just specifically have a park closure hours regardless of lighted activities, maybe in the later hours to, when you allow somebody to have the ability to find a reason to be there, it's kind of going to take away some of the teeth from our law enforcement when they get there and somebody has to say, oh, I have a racquetball and the lights are on, so I'm allowed to be here. I'm wondering if I think there are some other communities in this region that I've worked in that have similar language in their municipal code, but specifically has language relative to, in spite of you being in the park for a lighted sport event, there's still a time that we're going to shut down the park and allow our law enforcement to do their sweeps of the park and make sure that nobody's there who shouldn't be. Thoughts? Anybody?
I'm not sure. I got a little confused. That's my
Sorry.
fault. I'm not that bright. So,
Like the tennis courts, which are very bright. Lights.
Ooh,
Funny, right?
good one.
so.
Well, do the lights automatically turn off, or do they cease to function after a certain hour? I mean, I think that would solve the problem. I think like sometimes the tennis courts won't work after a certain time. I don't know.
I can look into that. I'm not sure if we have that ability to allow them not to work after a certain time, but we can definitely look into it. I think to the point that Mayor Pro Tem Beaver was saying, the goal is to have a tool that law enforcement and our park rangers can use so that if people are conducting business that should not be conducted in our city parks, then they have this tool to stop them, and we can look further into if we can disable lights at a certain time.
Well, are you suggesting that you should just put in, even if the court is lit, that 10 o'clock is where you're supposed to be out?
Yeah, because so as I was sitting here thinking about it, my initial thought was maybe some, juveniles there doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. But I think our curfew ordinance would apply there anyways. So I'm not too concerned with that part of it now. But now that I think about it, we do have homes going in near there being built. There's also the Valley View Mobile Home Park. It's just east of there. And I'm wondering if we now open it up to, hey, if you're playing a lighted sport, even if it's 2 a.m., you're allowed to be out there like Serena Williams smacking them tennis balls and yelling. I think we were going to get some noise complaints as well. So I'm wondering if maybe we should have it a little bit more restricted so that at a certain time, even if you have the lights on and you're playing a sport, we still have to be cognizant of maybe some noise ordinances and some other just attractive nuisances that we create by allowing it to be there, and then kind of tying our hands of our rangers and our sheriff's deputies, who then would have to employ, I think, state statutes to address some noise complaints, whereas I think we're trying to have a more regulated municipal code for this nuisance that we just identified.
So would you suggest that maybe through casual use of the facilities at sundown, it's done, with the exception of organized activities such as youth soccer, basketball, or baseball, but under no other, but regardless, it shuts down at 10 p.m. because that's the way it works anyway. And that was going to be my question, and it's sorry to, we're belaboring this, I know, but during the wintertime, it gets dark at 5 o'clock. And I remember when I was a youth soccer coach, we were playing underneath the lights from 6 to 7.
Yeah.
And they're not permitted. And it doesn't say here that the youth sports, I mean, are they permitted to be there? Is there a permit for
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Because I
So
don't
let me-
remember applying for any type of permit.
Yes, youth sports receive, the city council approves a facility use agreement. It comes to council every December. And once that agreement is put into place, then a facility use permit is issued
Okay.
to that nonprofit organization, youth sports organization. In addition, you could have a private sector kickball league, and you can get it permitted through the city. And as long as it's permitted, then you can play after
Dark.
the hours. So if I may, what I believe I'm hearing is no person shall be in an approved, no person shall be in any city park facility except between sunrise and sunset each day unless a facility use permit or special event permit is obtained.
Well, I think there's one more modification, which is tennis play and basketball play. And right now, the language in the staff report allows for that because it's lighted. I think what I'm hearing is even that needs to be shut off at a certain time.
By 10 o'clock curfew.
I think 10 o'clock would be appropriate.
Yeah. And if you can add that language in there, I think that's appropriate.
If council so chooses, we can come back with updated language based on what we're hearing tonight at the next meeting, if that's okay. Is that okay?
Is this enforceable now after 10 o'clock?
After 10 o'clock, yes.
So is it enforceable? I mean, what do they do? Somebody haul them off to jail, or what do they do? I mean, realistically, no matter what rules we apply, if we can't really do anything about it, I'm not sure what the purpose is.
It's a violation of the ordinance. After 10 o'clock, you can't be in there.
It is a misdemeanor.
They can cite it.
So what, though? I mean,
Well,
there's no
it's not
repercussions
just,
for it.
theoretically, it is a bookable offense. Should somebody not comply, they could take a trip down to the Gray Bar Motel.
Drop them off at the West Detention Center, West Valley Detention Center, let them walk home.
My thought is certainly, but we have a municipal code in place now that addresses park hours. So it's not like we're abandoning the parks for the next 2 weeks until we meet again. I think the language would clear up because at this point, till 10 o'clock, our parks are open for business, which makes it, some of our parks, they don't have a lot of lighting, so it's dark. So right now, you see somebody in the park at 9:45, there's really not a lot, they're not breaking any rules. And even our curfew, I think for juveniles is 10, I think it's 10 PM.
For juveniles.
So I think the sunset, that's pretty standard in most of the places I've worked anyways, is sunset for city parks, with the exception of sport complexes for approved sports. And I think that would be an easier, now our deputies or our park rangers drive through there and they see anybody in the park and it's dark, they're in violation of our municipal code. It's a little bit easier probable cause contact. I think with that being said, I wouldn't mind it coming back just with the amended wording.
I would suggest that we do that, gentlemen. Do you guys concur?
I agree.
So you,
Just so we get it all, smoothed out, clarified, easy to understand.
so you may take a motion to continue this to the next meeting.
Okay,
So moved.
we have a motion to continue. Here, a second?
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. This item will continue to next session. Moving on to item number 12, award of contract, new city yard, tenant improvements, project number 11167, Fermin Preciado.
Yes, thank you. The new city yard project is included in the fiscal year 21-22 capital improvement program. And as council's aware, the city has been using the Five Winds Ranch facility as a temporary city yard site until the new city yard is completed. The new city yard site is located behind Fire Station Number 1 on Bryant Street. The project is being completed in phases, and the next phase is the interior tenant improvements for the main building, and Todd Guchar will present this report.
Thank you, Fermin. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. On June 26, 2018, City Council adopted Resolution 2017-47, approving the Oakland Creek specific plan that included the Wilson 3 Basin and new city yard project. As you can see right here, this is a map dating pre-2018, I believe, and it does show the current, or the previous city yard facility, as well as a little marker to where the new city yard facility is at. We're just kind of giving you a background as to the locations. Currently, this is as of late January. You see here, the existing, or the previous city yard is here, is now becoming the Woodside Home Track, as well as the current city yard with the larger building, the smaller building, as well as the covered storage area. Over the past few months, City Council has awarded separate contracts to Three Peaks Corporation for the installation of city-furnished steel buildings, as well as a steel-covered storage structure. As you can see in the next slide, this is the current picture as of last Friday. We have the smaller 40 by 40 building here, the larger 60 by 100 building, and this right here is the L-shaped covered storage. The larger 60 by 100 building will serve as the Public Works Operations Office and Records Storage Facility. The building layout incorporates office space, restrooms, an employee break room, storage rooms, and a staff meeting/conference room. Smaller building, closer up, which was a 40 by 40, and this is the larger 60 by 100 building. This is the current floor plan that I just mentioned in regards to the 60 by 100 building. This is the first story. We have here storage, an open bay area with two large drive-in doors, a break room, office, One office for the current Public Works Manager. Second office that's primarily going to be used for the Ranger program. I just blanked there. Storage back here, storage up there, as well as an all-gender restroom. The mezzanine or second story is going to be a storage loft area as well as a storage area. Area is going to be air conditioned to help with the record storage keeping. We also have 2 bay doors up at the top as well as ladders for pedestrian entrance. We incorporated the bay doors so that forklifts can lift up heavier, larger loads and input it in, and the staff can walk up and help unload it right there on site. In January of this year, staff prepared construction documents for the tenant improvements for the larger building. These improvements include mechanical or HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and interior structural improvements, including walls, ceiling tiles, etc. On February 17th, 2 sealed bids were received from contractors for the city yard tenant improvements, and the lowest responsible bidder was Three Peaks Corporation, in the amount of $582,444. The fiscal section of this report contains a cost summary of the remaining items that are needed to be completed for this overall project. Those include primarily the wet and dry utilities, hardscape including paving, and landscape and irrigation, just to name a few. The remaining items are planned to be completed in separate phases of the construction and are estimated to cost at approximately $1.3 million. Staff will return to council at a later date with recommendation regarding potential funding sources to fully fund the remaining project. The fiscal section of the report also includes a table summarizing the actual cost to date for these completed items, which also includes the proposed cost for tonight's proposed contract, which is the scope of work incorporating the proposed city yard tenant improvements. The cost of the completed item to date was higher than anticipated over the past couple of years, primarily due to the rise in construction costs associated with the change in the CCI, the higher than normal cost of steel and building supplies required for the 3 steel building structures, the limited availability of building materials, building supplies, and qualified contractors, as well as the increased cost of wet and dry utilities, which also contributed to a higher total projected cost. In conclusion, staff recommends that City Council award and authorize the mayor to execute a contract in the amount of $582,444 with Three Peaks Corporation of Calamasa for the City Yard Tenant Improvements, project number 11167. Authorize a contract contingency in the amount of $23,300 and the amount of $12,230 for contract administration, materials testing, and permitting for a total construction budget of $617,974 for the project. Authorize the city manager or her designee to administer the terms of the contract and approve the plans and specifications prepared for this project. With a total proposed project construction budget of $617,973, there is sufficient funding available to accommodate staff's recommendation. This concludes my report, and staff's available for any questions.
Thank you, Todd. Any questions of staff?
I don't.
Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
I'll move approval for items 1 through 4.
Motion to approve
I'll second.
and a second. If no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes carry it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I would note that that is the nicest city yard and property in all of Southern California.
With the best view.
It is.
All right, do we have any announcements from the council to make? Any announcements?
I wanted to thank city staff, volunteers, and the committee for putting on the rodeo. I wasn't there for the entire time, but the portion that I was there, it was very well done.
Very good.
I agree.
Go ahead.
I agree.
We also had the e-waste recycling event this Saturday, which I got there around 8:30, 8:45, and it was already a big, long line, so I'm assuming that also was a big success. Watch all those people up there just roasting because it was hot.
I heard a lot of compliments for the egg extravaganza as well, so bravo, great job with that. It's very much enjoyed by our kids in our community, so keep up the good work.
Very good. All right, closed session. Mr. Attorney, do we have any items for a closed session tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do. We have 3 items on this evening's closed session agenda. The first is conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. It's San Bernardino County Superior Court case number CIVSB 2134748, First American Title versus Yucaipa Calamasa Joints Unified School District, City of Yucaipa, CSW Development Construction Company. Don't expect reportable action on that one this evening. We also have two property-related items. The first is regarding the property at 32798 Oak Glen Road. City's negotiator is Mr. Casey. Negotiating parties is the city, and under negotiation price and terms for disposition of the property. And the second one is the assessor parcel numbers listed on the agenda. And again, Mr. Casey's the negotiating party on behalf of the city and also negotiating price and terms of disposition of the properties. We don't expect reportable action on those two items this evening either.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much for attending tonight's council meeting. We'll go ahead and move on to closed session. Scott Ward?